Welcome to the 5-point series for Workers and Resources Soviet Republic, and we're picking up on the 1st of March 1992, which is about 4 months on since the end of the last video. The reason for that is that I wanted to get rid of the snow, because in this part we're going to be looking at vehicle maintenance, or more importantly vehicle wear and tear, and also about enabling automatic vehicle replacement, which is something that you're all going to need to do once you get more than, say, 20-30 years into the game. In fact, I've left it a little bit later than it should be, but I'll talk more about that in a little while. First, I want to talk about a couple of things, and as usual, a big thank you for all your comments and feedback. You guys give me a lot to think about, and to be honest, I've kind of missed your comments during this period where I've been a bit shut down. And it's good to be back with you guys pointing out things that I've done wrong, and I want to emphasize I never take any comment negative, no matter how brutal you may feel. It's because I feel that's how we learn to play games, because no one's 100% expert on everything. I'd never claim that on any game. I know I make mistakes. I know there's some mechanics I don't understand completely. So when you guys pull me up and said, oh, you should be doing this, or challenge me, is more important as well. I appreciate it. I take it as a positive feedback. So don't ever worry about the fact that you're going to upset me if you put a comment. If you think I'm doing something wrong, or that I'm misinterpreting something, feel free to tell me about it. Anyway, the first comment I want to say, apologies, I can't remember who actually posted this, but somebody actually pointed out in the comments that on the 26th of January 2024, the devs have released the new release. This is the 0.9.011 update. This is the update I'm on, so I've now reverted back to the stable branch. And I think and I get a feeling that this may be a feature of this year, that rather than having great big major functional releases, we're going to get a series of staged releases where the devs release update the game in preparation for leaving early access. So what I'll be probably doing going forward with this series is flipping between the stable branch and the beta test branch. I think in many ways, I think that might work a bit better, because a lot of the changes that are coming in now are new buildings. And a good example, as was pointed out to me, is we've now got a large gravel quarry. Now, of course, a lot of these new buildings are related to mods, because what the devs are doing in quite an intelligent way is they are bringing in modded buildings into the base game, which I think is really great, because it makes the game more playable and it reduces the dependence on mods, although I'm completely guilty about that. Anyway, this is a large quarry. It can take 3 excavators. You can see it's got a fuel connection, and more importantly, it's now got a conveyor output. Now, one thing that might be a bit distracting for some new players is it says that it needs 100 workers, but if you look at the ordinary gravel quarry, it says 40 workers. But with quarries, and I think it's bauxite mines as well, they can function without workers. Well, or something, maybe we'll test that just to make sure that the large quarry is when I need to build one. But generally, when you put down a quarry, you don't need workers. Say, for example, down here we've got some small quarries here. And this is one of the quirks of the game. It's see this quarry here, and you can see that it's got no workers. It says 40 workers max. There's no workers there, but because there's a single excavator tucked in here. So what that really means is that, and in fact I've done it in the early games sometimes, especially with early starts, is I use workers over excavators, because the early excavators can be a little bit inefficient. So that is the gravel. There's also lots of other buildings, and to be honest, I don't want to go through them, because the whole video would be about the new buildings that have been added. Also, to be honest, I can't remember what they all are. I need to probably one day just turn off the mods so that we can actually take a look at it. But another thing to do with the fact that it's now in the stable branch is the campaigns are now available in the stable branch. And what I'm going to be doing when my new machine comes through and it's all set up is I will be going through the campaigns in the game, just to work through them, see what they're like, and also maybe create a little mini series about actually doing the construct the campaigns, because it's quite intrigued to see how it goes, and more importantly, whether I can learn anything from them. Right, so that out of the way, the next comment I want to talk about is somebody posted a comment about the building complex junctions on highways and the fact that they're not particularly very efficient because the game has lane management. Now, I'll be completely upfront. I've been playing city building games or games that have traffic in them for about 20 years. And I've yet to come up with a game that's really been able to manage traffic efficiency. Even City Skylines, when it was first released, managing the traffic was a bit of a nightmare, and as for lane management, it was disaster. And it took a lot of work by the modding community in that game to come up with a thing called Traffic Manager, which I think anyone who played City Skylines seriously used extensively, because that allowed you to designate lanes. And that, in fact, I think it got to the point where you could over manage the traffic and lose the essentials of managing traffic, which is actually keeping an eye on where the vehicles go. Now, whether that's been solved in City Skylines 2, I don't know, because I've yet to get deeply into City Skylines 2, because, to be honest, I prefer Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. Now, as the comment pointed out, is that Workers and Resources also has traffic management problems. But I think one advantage Workers and Resources has over, say, City Skylines is that you can manage the industrial vehicles, because there isn't the numbers of personal cars in this game. Not until you actually start building them and allowing your residents to use them. Then things can get a little bit out of control. So you do have a little bit more control over where vehicles go what. Now, why am I talking about this in the context of highways? Because the comment said that highways aren't these complex junctions have limited impact, which I agree completely. If you don't use them properly, or use them in the wrong place, they can cause more problems than they do. But if you use them like I've got here, because what I've done is I've built a highway system all the way out right to my new town, and I'll be upfront, this is a little bit of an experiment, because normally you use trains to move bulks, but I just wanted to build a highway system out just to see how it goes. And overall it's working, because the traffic on it is light. And this is one of the key factors, is if you create a choke point, like I've got a potential choke point here, where the traffic comes down off the highway here. And what you can get is this can get a bit congested because of the way that the traffic management actually runs. But as long as you can manage that, so you don't get queues of traffic, and more importantly, you don't get queues of traffic on the highway itself, you can get a good traffic flow. And what a highway can do for you is actually increase the average speed. Now, quite a few years ago, I actually worked on a project about path management. So in most games, when you've got vehicles that need to move between point A and point B, it's normally a calculation based on distance and average speed. And that's what actually the game decides. Now, I can't confirm 100% that that's the way Workers and Resources are, but I'll be very surprised if it isn't. Now, and what I've got here, and the reason I come over here, is we've got a steel truck here, which is picking up steel from here, and it's transporting it over to, where is it? My new rail distribution thingy here. Now, if you actually look very quickly at the map, if I go back over, the kind of what you'd call the shortest distance would be this road through here. But you can see here that these trucks here, if I just let the game unpause and let run forward, what you see is this vehicle is actually choosing to run across like this as a part of its journey. And the reason for that is that it's probably done the calculation and decided that this highway is giving a higher average speed. Now, I want to use this truck very, very carefully, and I'm just going to pick it up. At the moment, this truck is doing 95 kilometers an hour. If I let the game run slowly, because I want to show you one of the things you need to bear in mind when you're buying junction. Now, when you see the truck going Oh wow, he's actually gone over this thing. So he's actually taken a shortcut. Okay. Ha. He's actually illustrating an opposite now. Now, what you may not have noticed is when actually we'll do it with the covered hole truck here. This covered hole at the moment is doing 94 kilometers an hour. Now, if you watch this covered hole coming up to here, as he crosses this junction, you can see his speed has dropped to 67 kilometers an hour. The reason for that is that there is a traffic node here. If I show you here, let me go on there. You see there's a traffic node here. And because there's no actual priority set there, now if we keep watching this vehicle, if we go up here, now he start to try and pick up a bit speed. You see he's now lost speed again with this when he crosses this junction. So he's gone from 95 to 50 kilometers an hour. Now the reason for that is the fact that whenever these vehicles come up to a junction, they have to make a decision. They don't know what their priority is, so they lose speed, and that also applies to the outside lane. So don't think a vehicle in the outside lane won't be affected by these traffic nodes. Now, if we pick up this concrete mixer is doing 94. I'm hoping that he may actually go off this junction. Nope. Ha. Okay. And you can see this one now, he's dropped to 60. And now he's dropped right down, and now he's picking up speed again. So how do you fix this problem? I'll just see, there's no other vehicles on this road, so we're gonna have to find another stretch of road. So if we go down, well, it's probably, well, I would like to try and illustrate another point as well, if I can do it. What I want to do now is just show you this bus. We're going to follow this bus to see where he's going. You can see at the moment he's just come off of the roundabout, this junction here. He's now accelerating, and again I would like him to turn right. No, he's just gone across. You can see he's now dropped back down to 74 kilometers an hour. I'm looking for a vehicle that might be, now this vehicle is doing 57 kilometers an hour. You can see he's now dropped to 53. So he's losing speed. So the faster the vehicles are, the better. Right. Now, this one's just caught me out. I'll show you this one. What I'm trying to illustrate is the fact that vehicles that are coming off. Let's see if we can pick this guy up, actually. Actually, no. Let me just going to let the game run, and I'll see if I can find a vehicle that I'm looking for. Right, we've got a water truck coming up here now, and he is doing 59 kilometers an hour. Now what I'm hoping is he will turn off on this junction. Still doing 59. Nope, he's just gone by. He's just dropped to 55. So slower moving trucks lose less speed, so the amount of speed they lose is proportionate to their top speed. See if this one's going. This guy is doing 94. What I'm trying to do is get someone who will go off here. Nope. You can see this one now has dropped to 69. Oh, come on. When I was looking at this earlier, I had loads of trucks that would go. Right, I'm just gonna. We're just gonna follow these up. Just gonna let you come up there. What I'm trying to illustrate is the fact that now this guy is building back up. Right, we've got a tanker coming up here now. And he might go to the fueling depot. So he's doing 95. Now, if we let him run up here, what you'll see is he's going off now. You'll see that vehicles going off the highway don't lose speed. But at the same time, a vehicle crossing this will lose speed. Now, the solution is actually to come in here and set priorities. I've set priority because like this. Now this has two effects. One, I don't know if I can illustrate this because I don't really have the traffic density. But what you will see sometimes is that if you've got a vehicle coming down, say this slip road here, the traffic on the highway will yield to the vehicle coming down this ramp here. So for example, you've got this vehicle here. He's got maximum speed of 160, so he's doing 109. But you actually follow this vehicle, you see he doesn't lose speed. So vehicles coming through don't lose speed when they're coming out onto a junction like that. But here's another example as well that I've noticed that on a highway, vehicles that can be a bit more nimble and have got better acceleration are a bit more inclined to overtake. But this is the junction which I set, isn't it? Yep. So we've now got priority. So if you watch this bus here, he's currently doing 99 kilometers an hour. What you'll see is that as he goes over the junction, he's no longer losing speed because we set the priority here. Where if you compare that with this guy, he's coming the other way. He's already losing speed. He's dropped speed again, and now he's dropping speed again. So apologies for this slightly rambling kind of description, but what I'm trying to get across is that highways are useful as long as you can keep the traffic density down on junctions and manage that effectively. And what you get is a higher average speed, which then encourages trucks to use your highways. But more importantly, I mean, at the moment, I'm not too worried about prioritizing all these junctions, even though I knew that I could do it. Simply because it's not important with the fact that because I've got such long distances between, the occasional slowdowns aren't a problem. But if you really want to optimize your traffic flow, what you need to do is go around all these junctions here, set the priorities like this. So what that means is that the junctions coming down here, and of course probably one good point here where you would need, in fact I'm just going to let the game run just see if I can demonstrate. See, so I've got the double outflow there. Don't know, did you notice that where this truck yielded to this one? So a place like this is where you would probably want to set the priority like that, so that it's the merging traffic that actually yields. Don't know if we can get it to happen again. I don't no, but it doesn't actually. If you look here, setting that doesn't slow things down. It's just what you get is that prioritized system. Anyway, I think I've probably rambled on way too long for that, guys, but what I'm trying to get to is that where if you want to go for a highway system, building these junctions do have their value as long as you get them correct, get the flows in, and you manage the traffic, and they can actually provide a benefit for your overall game. Apologies, I had to stop briefly to have some tea after that slightly long diatribe about highways. In the next section of this video, we're going to talk about how vehicle repair and some of the more advanced underlying mechanics, because this is going to be necessary for the preparation for when we move on to talk about automatic vehicle replacement. Now, to give you a little bit of a background, most of what I'm going to talk about at the moment is going to be fairly subjective because I haven't been able to find out precise details about how the repair mechanic actually works. But I would also like to say a big thank you to somebody who posted a comment and gave me a little bit more extra information. So far in this series, I've just allowed this repair stations to repair vehicles in their own way, and I just assumed that the vehicles will keep going on and on forever. But vehicles do have a lifespan. Now, the original community report that was published way back before the update was released quoted that all vehicles have a 20-year lifespan. But I've also had a comment recently, someone said that the deterioration of the repair process starts at 15 years. Now, I've got no confirmation which one is right, but to be honest, when it starts is not important. You just need to be aware of the consequences of that process. And just to give you an idea is that the default for repairs is 50%. Now, the part of the reason why that's set as a default is that when vehicles get above 50% wear and tear, there is a probability that they will break down. And that probability increases to the point when they reach 100%, which means they will break down constantly. So this is something you need to be aware of. Now, in the simplest model, That means that you don't have a repair station. The vehicles don't get repaired, and eventually they get to a point where they just keep breaking down all the time. That's something that can happen pretty quickly once you get more than, say, 5 to 10 years into the game. When you're first starting out, the first 5 years, even up to 10 years, or possibly you could even possibly stretch it to 15 years, the vehicles will run. But the thing you need to be aware of is that vehicles, the amount of wear and tear a vehicle has depends on age and mileage. So don't assume that just because a vehicle's 10 years old that it's going to always be in a good state of repair, because if it's doing a lot of mileage, and this is particularly relevant to buses. I can find some buses trotting around here. I think that's a construction bus, isn't it? Yeah, but what you're looking at is buses who are running on permanent routes. There's some up here, I think. I can find one. Got buses like this. These buses can pile up the routes. You can see this one's only 3 years. It's already done 704 kilometers, but I think I've got some older ones in here somewhere as well. Even older ones than that. Let me just see. But there are a couple of buses up here. Maybe I'll find them later on. In fact, maybe we can look at one of these. You can see this one's up to over 1,000 kilometers in 4 years. But there is one round here that's actually... Oh, there they are. Don't look for them and then you'll find them. You can see this one here is 33 years old and it's done 25,119 kilometers. And if you look at the top, it's got a wear and tear of 75%. Now, if you keep to the simple model repair, you think, well, because it's over 50%, which it says here, that this vehicle will be repaired back to zero. But that's not the way the mechanic works. Once the vehicle goes past its, you can say it's a planned lifespan of, say, we'll say 20 years at the moment for argument's sake. Because if you come in here, you will see that this vehicle was last repaired 3 months, 1 day ago. So that was repaired, what, back in January. And it won't be repaired again until January 1993. And I'll give you a better example of this in a minute. So you can see here that despite this vehicle was repaired 3 months ago, it's still got 75% wear and tear, which means that this vehicle is going to slowly keep deteriorating over time. Now, to kind of illustrate that process, and this is the reason why the game is actually on pause, I'll just unpause it. And then just come back here. Whoops. Pause. We come back to this repair station. What you're seeing here is there's a dumper truck in here. Now, this dumper truck is just short of 30 years old. It's done 3,221 kilometers. Now, I'm aware that you guys won't be able to see the text because, one, it's in a grey rather than black, and it's also quite small. But the box here on the left-hand side of this window, you can see the progress of the vehicle's repair. It's just gone past 67%. And you see that the wear and tear at the moment is 40%. Now, if we actually follow this through, you'll see that the wear and tear is dropping, but it's already up to 77%. Now it's 82%, but you can see it's only down to 37% wear and tear. So that means that this vehicle is, due to its age and its mileage, is not going to be fully repaired. In fact, we're just coming up to 97% now, 99, 100. So now the repair cycle is completed there, but you can see it was only repaired back to 35%. So that means that now you can see it says no days. So this vehicle's got to go another year before it can be repaired again. That means that in a year's time, this vehicle will then actually could be higher than it was. Will have a higher level of wear and tear than it did when it started this cycle. And this is the way that eventually the wear and tear builds up and vehicles get to the point where they start to break down regularly. Now, just to give you a bit of contrast, I've got this truck here, and this truck is a gravel truck. It's 37 years old, so it's probably one of the first trucks I ever built when back in 1955, because it's supplying gravel to this water supply thing. But you see that it's in that 37 years, it's only driven 470 kilometers. The reason for that is this is a dedicated route that basically picks up gravel. It's still buying it from the custom shed. I never fixed it because I forgot all about it. And it sits here for very long periods of time. And that's the reason why, the fact that it's 37 years old and it's still below 50%. And if you actually look here, and it's at 46%, and it's still got, well, it was last repaired 7 months ago. So a vehicle like this that doesn't do much mileage will last longer from a repair perspective than, like I pointed out with that bus earlier on. That buses wear out incredibly quickly. So that is how the repair mechanism works. And just to give you an overview now of my kind of economy, is that I've got quite a few vehicles now that are over, well, I've got loads over 30 years, but you can see I've got vehicles that the dumper which we've just been looking at is the oldest vehicle we've got on the map, which is at 37 years. And you think I started in 1955, we're now in 1992. So yeah, so this vehicle's been here since the first year. And what you can see here is I've got lots of vehicles that are over 30 years. In fact, I've got to go down to the bottom of page 3 to get to that 20-year deadline. Now, if I resort this from the perspective of wear and tear, let's go a whole map, wear and tear. What you will see, that doesn't seem to make sense. I know I've got vehicles with more wear and tear than that. Sometimes this sort mechanism gets a bit unstable if you've got to kind of come out and come back in again. And yeah, that. So what you can see now is I've got, what's it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 vehicles that have now got wear and tear over 50%. Now, the 51% ones you could probably ignore, but you've got to remember that some of these are quite old, so it's got 35%. Now, one thing you want to do is look through when you get a list like this and look for vehicles with low age. So like we've got an excavator there that's 65% with 12.5 years. That means that there's another reason beyond excessive wear and tear. So we've actually got this construction office here. I think I know what's wrong with this, is the fact that it's not being covered. So this is how you can detect potential problems of coverage. Let me just see. Yeah, there's two problems with this. One, it's just too short, so we're going to have to extend this so that it gets cover. Also, I'm going to need a couple of covered holes, because otherwise, even though it's in range, there's no vehicle that can be sent out to cover. So that is something that you do need to pay attention to. But returning back into the center again, and we're just come back. I don't know why I came back here. I think mainly because we're going to be working on there. And if I go back to wear and tear again, you can see that the so we now got the vehicles here. In fact, it looks like one of these Zeiss has just been repaired, actually, by the look of it. One of the problems with this is that it can be, where are you? Yeah. Oh no, these are different ones. These are buses in here. Now, I think this one was repaired 9 months ago. This one was repaired 11 months ago. So we got two buses in here that are in potential problems. And you can see that these are this size one here. We got a garbage truck at 68%. So we got a lot of vehicles that are aging and that have potential, but they're not breaking down at the moment. I just want to Skype back and check. Where are my buses gone again? Here it is. Yeah, this one's at 75%. And it's got 25,000 miles on the clock. and that will probably not last. Anyway, hopefully gives you an overview of the way vehicles repairs work at a deeper level and why you need to replace vehicles. Now, there are ways that you can replace vehicles. One way is that you can literally do it completely manually. You can just go in here, you can just, it's something that I've been doing for a little while. You just send the vehicle to the dump and then just buy the replacement. Buy a bus. What do we want? I want something with a little bit more capacity, a little bit of a top speed. Got 85 there, 60. We're working at quite long range. Maybe we'll just buy that KB 6732. And what that means, that will take over from these vehicles here. But of course, that is a very cumbersome process, unless of course you're working on a very small map. Now, the next way that you can replace vehicles, which is a little bit more tricky, and I'll be completely upfront, it's not something that I'm totally comfortable from. So what I'm going to do now is just talk about this automatic vehicle replacement. Now, what you see is at the moment I've got automatic replacement switched off for obvious reasons. And then we've got method of replacement. It says from depot, from vehicle storage. And what I can do is actually turn that off because I've got no vehicle construction capability going. And I don't particularly want to spend a lot of time buying vehicles and putting them in depots to support the auto supply process. And probably one thing that you want to kind of pay attention to is that if you're going to get into scrapping vehicles, you need two things. You need one, a big pile of cash, and three, you do need a scrapping yard. Now, the reason for that is that with a scrapping yard, why have we got oh, that's the Zubra that I sent down earlier because it was complete trash. And the reason is that you want a scrapping yard is the fact that if you don't have one, you will have to pay to scrap the vehicle. So what will happen is you have to pay to scrap the vehicle, and then also you will then have to pay for the replacement new vehicle. And the reason I'm emphasizing that is because the next thing that you can actually do is we look at down here. Now this next section, you see I've got 9 pages of vehicles. In fact, I've got 122 different types of vehicles. Now what you get here, now this is quite useful for giving you an overview of what types of vehicles you've got. And the reason for that is that it gives you breakdown, and I know that you guys can't see the number, but in the bottom left hand corner of the number is the number of vehicles, and then what it actually does, I think it lists it by the vehicle that you can actually see by age down here. And I think this is the actual oldest vehicle in here, I think. And I think if it goes there, it will. You've got a snow plow here. It's wear and tear 42 years, and it's 33 years old. So I think what this actually does, now I'll be completely upfront, I'm not most comfortable with this mechanism. It gives you the oldest vehicle, and so what it does here is it tells you what the oldest vehicle that you've actually. So what this actually does is it tells you how old your oldest vehicle actually is. In fact, I can find something. So this one here is 35 years old. It's got 45% wear and tear, and it's currently over here somewhere. It's probably in the fire station. This would be my first. This is my first fire station. So they're all about 35 years old. Now, what you can do, if we go to fire trucks, you can sort by group like this. And what we got in here, just want to see, we've got star 320s in here. Now on the right hand side, what you've got is the options. It says no vehicle in the depot, no vehicle storage, and it tells you how much it's going to cost to replace that vehicle. So if I open up this window here, and then if we click on here and we say replace vehicle, what happens is the vehicle disappears immediately. And then what should happen is that a new vehicle should turn up eventually. I'll just sit here and wait for the vehicle to show up, just to show you that the replacement is automatic. Here comes the vehicle. It's just returned. And of course, that vehicle has to come from the customs post. So we've now got a nice new vehicle in here. It's 0 years old. In fact, probably wouldn't mind putting another vehicle in here, actually. I didn't realise it was... let's just see, capacity. I'm sure I had better vehicles than this. 12, or maybe 12 is the best. So we're bringing one of those. 94 kilometers, give me a little bit stronger coverage. Now, the downside of using this process of replacing like this is that you don't send the vehicle to the scrapping yard. So you actually, the vehicle just disappears off the map. And that's something that you do need to be aware of. So obviously the preferred option is actually to use auto replacement. Now, if you set the auto replacement up when you're 15, 20 years, you're okay. But of course, I've got a problem now in the fact that I've got lots of vehicles that are pretty old. So I'm going to have to set this up very carefully. First thing, we're going to keep the game on pause. We're going to do this here. The first button I want to check is send to scrapyard. Now, you can see here that this wear and tear, what you can do now is set the conditions for scrapping. And it says here that we can scrap any vehicles greater than 20 years of age with a wear and tear of 80%. Now, I would like to bring that down, but I don't want to lose too many vehicles at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this to 35 years and then bring this down to 55. And what should happen, I mean, it's going to take a little while to take effect. In fact, we probably try and search for vehicles now. Again, we're going to go all map. We'll just pick up this Tatra oil tanker. It's 37 years, so, but it's below 46%. So that one's still good. Probably the best way to show this, because of course everything's across the map, but what should happen is that we should get vehicles start to come to the scrapyard here. Yeah, we got one coming in now. This is the meat truck. So we've now got a meat truck coming in here. We've got going to the scrapping facility. So we're getting trucks coming in here. What you should see is vehicles, replacement vehicles going back out now. So if we follow you, where are you going? You've gone around there. So what we've done now is this has been replaced. So if we click on here, what you will see is we've now got the old vehicle that was in here. Let's just check this one, 0%. So you can see the difference. Now, one thing you do need to be aware of is that when you're replacing this, if we kind of let it show all vehicles, is that you need to be aware that you need to replace the vehicle. So there's reason why, like say for example here we've got 3 trucks here. The oldest one is 31, but what you can do is say, right, I don't want these old trucks anymore, I want something a bit better. So you can change that to there, but of course the price will go up to 51,000. So don't do this wholesale. It's also, you can use this for snowplows is another good one, because this is the SK706, which is SK706. So this has got a ploughing speed of 23 kilometers an hour, and what we could do is replace that with the CAS. Now obviously it's going to, I've got 9 pages here. You can filter though. So say for example you can say, give me your my oldest vehicles by type. Probably the best one is sort descending by wear and tear, so you can find out where your biggest problem is at the moment. So we got trucks here that are coming in this way. So the idea is that you can set up vehicles there. Now, the reason I'm phasing this in very quickly, you can see we've already got 4 vehicles in here that for scrapping, and we're probably more coming in. So when you're in the situation like I've done, where I've allowed the age to go out a lot further, what you do need to do is just phase this down a little bit. So if we come back to here and look at, so we're looking for anything that's over 55% and it's older than 35 years. So if we come back to here now, what we should see is vehicle age. We've still got a couple of vehicles here. So if you've got vehicles that like that, the dumper that I showed you, that isn't aging very quickly, you can these will still function quite well. In fact, we've got quite a lot of vehicles here. So what we got here, we got one at 33 years. So probably we got one at 37 wear and tear. We got one at 36 years, which is a bus. Now this bus here, it says 36 years, which technically, oh, this is another thing that can happen, is it actually shows you what's in the depot. So if you're going to tidy up the map, you need to do it over a period of time. See if we can find something that's still functioning. Just do it again. I don't want the video to be too long. We got a waste truck here that's 33 years. Where are you? And he's still chugging on. So maybe we need to come down to, actually we'll just keep you tracked so that I can show you how it works now. If we reduce this to say 31 years now, now if you, it's just filled up, it's going to waste my fuel. What you'll see is that trucks will tend to carry on their normal task. So just because you set the parameter, it doesn't mean that every game, every vehicle is just going to suddenly go towards the depot. What this truck should do is, if we follow him around enough, he should finish off his task and then go to the depot. So okay, welcome back. The truck has now picked up 5 tons of waste. He's now dropped off the waste here. And what you can see now he's finished that cycle, he's now going for scrapping. So, and what should happen is that never been too sure. What we've got coming out here is his replacement. So as soon as one truck goes out from the perspective of, so once the truck goes out, the one truck drops out of the cycle and goes to the actual scrapping yard and starts his way there, what will happen is, then this guy, see where he's going. I've got a feeling he's going there. Yep. That means we've now replaced that truck. So the truck that was in here disappears as soon as they make their way to the scrapping yard, and then the other truck comes out and fills that space. So there has to be a space in here, and you can see at the moment I think we might need some more workforce in here because we've got 13 vehicles in here now that have been replaced. You can see it's draining my money away, so it's a very expensive process. And we're just gonna do another little quick all map survey. Minimum age. So you can see we still got vehicles over 37. We've got one bus at the moment that's probably, they're actually in the scrapping yard. So they will still show in this list as to be scrapped until such time as all the scrapping is to be done. But you can see I've now started to improve the wear and tear. We've still got That's in scrapping. So what you're going to have to do is go through these waste truck. Yeah. So anything that's really high needs to go into here. So what I'm going to have to do over time is actually continue. It looks like we've got a couple more candidates. Don't know how many of these. Because the other thing also is that there's a possibility that we could overwhelm our actual storage capacity, because you see the trucks are still coming in, although maybe I need to get some more workers in here. And of course, one advantage of scrapping is the fact that we are getting the waste building up here, which we can then use to recycle. And I think that's about it. I've just got one final point, guys, if you want to go to, and this is relates to scrapping rather than the auto replacement. That is the fact that you only need, like courthouses, you only need one scrapping yard on the map. But be aware that if you've got one scrapping road on the map, it must be connected with all roads. And also be prepared that, say for example, we had a town all the way out over here, a vehicle that needs to be scrapped that is in bad condition could take years to get to the scrapping yard. This is what I'm going to call it. Most of what I said, as I say, is subjective. It's based on some background knowledge. If you guys have got any opinions based on your own experiences, feel free to chuck it in the comments. But until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.